I, 28F, never imagined I would be sharing my life story on Reddit, but I desperately need to get this off my chest. My whole life has turned upside down in just 6 months, and I can't even recognize the person my husband has become. I met Nathan, 32M, at my best friend's housewarming party 4 years ago. I was 24 and he was 28 then. I wasn't even planning to go to that party because I had a terrible week at work, but my friend Lisa insisted. That turned out to be the best decision of my life, or so I thought at the time. Nathan was charming, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me. We talked for hours that night about everything from our career goals to our favorite childhood memories. We started dating soon after, and those 2 years were absolutely perfect. Nathan was everything I had ever wanted in a partner. He was caring, supportive, and always put our relationship first. He had a stable job as a software engineer, and I worked as a marketing manager. We both earned well and had similar views about money and savings. We wanted to buy a house eventually and had been saving aggressively for a down payment. My parents absolutely loved Nathan. My dad, who is usually skeptical of everyone I date, actually told me that Nathan was the one. Even my overprotective older brothers approved of him, which was a miracle in itself. On Nathan's side, it was just his mother Jane, 55F, as his father had passed away from a heart attack when Nathan was only 12. Jane lived in another state and seemed to adore me from the moment we met. During our dating period, Jane would visit us 3 or 4 times a year. She'd always brought thoughtful gifts and never stayed longer than a week. I actually looked forward to her visits because she would cook these amazing meals and tell me embarrassing stories about Nathan's childhood. She seemed like the perfect mother-in-law, supportive but not intrusive. She had her own life back in her state, where she worked as a high school teacher. Nathan and I got married 2 years ago in a small ceremony. Everything was perfect, and we settled into a comfortable routine. We both worked during the day and spent our evenings together. We had date nights every Friday, went hiking on weekends, and were saving money for our dream house. Jane would visit occasionally, and everything was great. Then 6 months ago, everything changed. I came home from work one evening to find Jane standing at our doorstep with 4 huge suitcases. She looked tired and somewhat nervous, which was unusual for her. Before I could even process what was happening, she told us that her house was being renovated and she needed to stay with us for a few days. Nathan didn't even look at me before saying yes. I was annoyed that he didn't consult me first, but I didn't want to create drama over what was supposed to be a short stay. I helped Jane settle into our guest bedroom and tried to make her feel welcome. Those few days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Jane showed no signs of leaving, and Nathan seemed perfectly fine with this arrangement. At first, I really tried to be understanding. I cooked her favorite meals, included her in our weekend plans, and even started watching her favorite TV shows with her. But things started getting weird about 2 months into her stay. I noticed large amounts of money missing from our joint account. First it was $2,000, then $5,000, then $8,000. When I asked Nathan about it, he brushed it off saying he was helping his mom with some bills and renovation costs. I wasn't comfortable with him making such big financial decisions without consulting me, but he made me feel like I was being selfish for questioning it. He said things like she's my mother and family helps family whenever I tried to bring it up. I let it go initially, but the amounts kept getting bigger and bigger. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago. I had a terrible migraine and left work early. When I got home, I found Jane in the living room, hunched over her laptop. She was frantically clicking away and talking to herself. When I went closer, I saw she was on an online gambling site. She had multiple tabs open: poker, slots, blackjack. When she saw me, she quickly closed the laptop and made some excuse about checking her emails. That's when everything clicked: the missing money, her constant need for cash, her mysterious phone calls, and why she never talked about going back home. I waited until Nathan came home and confronted him. At first, he tried to deny everything, but when I told him I had seen Jane gambling, he finally broke down and told me the truth. Jane hadn't come here because of renovations. She had lost her house to gambling debts. She had been fired from her teaching job months ago because she had borrowed money from several parents and never paid them back. Nathan had been giving her money from our savings to help her pay off her debts, but instead of paying them off, she was gambling it away trying to win big and fix everything. I was beyond furious. We had over $80,000 saved for our house down payment, and Nathan had given away more than half of it without telling me. When I told him that Jane needed to leave and get professional help, he looked at me like I had suggested abandoning a child. He said we couldn't throw his mother out on the street. When I insisted that she needed help and not enablement, he actually told me that if I couldn't accept his mother, maybe I should be the one to leave. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The man I married, the man who had always put our relationship first, was choosing his mother's gambling addiction over our marriage and future. When I tried talking to Jane about it, She turned on the waterworks. She sobbed about how she had nowhere else to go, how she was trying her best to win back the money, and how I was trying to separate her from her only son. She told Nathan I was being cruel to her, and he completely believed her. Now I'm staying at my sister Amy's, 30F, place. Nathan keeps calling and texting, saying we can work this out if I just come back home. He says he loves me and doesn't want to lose me, but he also won't ask his mother to leave or stop giving her money. I've already contacted a lawyer about protecting my remaining assets, but I'm still in shock about how quickly my perfect marriage crumbled. How can someone change so completely? How can he not see that he's enabling his mother's addiction? I just don't know what to do anymore. Update 1, it's been 3 weeks since my last post, and I can't believe how much worse things have gotten. I thought hitting rock bottom meant there was nowhere to go but up. I was wrong. There were apparently several sub-basements below rock bottom that I didn't know about. First, I found out through my friend Lisa, the one who hosted the party where I met Nathan, that Jane has been spreading vicious lies about me to everyone who will listen. According to her, I'm some kind of monster who mentally abused her and forced her to live in our garage. She's telling people that I would lock the kitchen at night so she couldn't eat, and that I would blast music at 3 a.m. to keep her from sleeping. None of this is true. She had our guest bedroom with an attached bathroom, and I even bought her a new mattress when she complained about back pain. Lisa said Jane has been calling all our mutual friends crying about how cruel I am. She's painted this picture of herself as a helpless widow who just needed a place to stay, and me as the evil daughter-in-law who couldn't stand having her around. Some people are actually believing her. Just yesterday, I got a nasty message from Nathan's cousin saying I should be ashamed of myself for treating an elderly widow this way. But here's where it gets even crazier. My sister Amy, who works at First National Bank, decided to do some digging. She couldn't tell me specifics due to privacy laws, but she found enough to point me in the right direction. It turns out Jane has done this before, multiple times. She lived with Nathan's aunt Sandra for a year in 2019. Sandra is Nathan's father's sister, and she had retired early with a decent nest egg. Jane moved in with her after claiming she needed a short break from teaching. During that year, she managed to convince Sandra to invest in various schemes. In reality, she gambled away nearly $200,000 of Sandra's retirement savings. Sandra had kept quiet about the whole thing to protect the family's reputation and because she felt ashamed about being scammed. That wasn't all. Amy discovered that Jane had pulled similar scams with Nathan's Uncle Mark, 2 distant cousins, and even her own sister. Each time, she would move in claiming some kind of emergency, gain their trust, and then slowly drain their savings through emotional manipulation and guilt-tripping. She'd always had a good story, medical bills, home repairs, a friend in need, but the money always went straight to gambling sites. When I gathered all this evidence and went to confront Nathan, his reaction left me speechless. Instead of being shocked or angry at his mother's pattern of behavior, he accused me of trying to destroy his family. He said I was making up lies because I was jealous of his relationship with his mother. When I tried to show him the documents Amy had found, he refused to even look at them. He said I had probably forged them because I wanted him to choose between his mother and me. The worst revelation came yesterday. I got a call from our bank about a missed mortgage payment. I was confused because our mortgage payments are on auto pay, and we've never missed one. That's when I discovered that Nathan had taken out a second mortgage on our house without my knowledge. He had forged my signature on the documents to get an additional $150,000, all of which he had given to Jane. I immediately called my lawyer and filed for divorce. I couldn't stay married to someone who would not only destroy our future for his mother's addiction but would commit fraud to do it. When I told Nathan about the divorce filing, he broke down. He admitted to forging my signature but said he only did it because Jane had promised she was close to a big win that would fix everything. Jane's response to the divorce filing was to amp up her smear campaign. She started calling not just our friends, but my coworkers and even my boss. She told them I was unstable and had threatened to hurt her. Some of our mutual friends have actually sided with her, saying I should be more understanding because she's a widow who lost her husband young. These same friends don't know she's gambled away over $100,000 of our savings and fraudulently borrowed another $150,000 in our names. The only silver lining in all of this is that Nathan's aunt Sandra finally reached out to me. After hearing about my divorce filing, she decided she couldn't stay quiet anymore. She told me everything about her experience with Jane. According to Sandra, Jane has done this to 3 other families before us. She starts by moving in temporarily, then creates drama to justify staying longer. Once she's established, she starts asking for small amounts of money, gradually increasing the amounts as she gains trust. If anyone questions her, she turns on the waterworks and manipulates other family members against them. Sandra warned me that this is just the beginning. She said when she finally confronted Jane about the missing money, Jane became vindictive. She spread rumors that Sandra was suffering from early dementia and couldn't be trusted. She even called Sandra's children and convinced them their mother needed to be put in a home. It took Sandra years to repair those relationships. I'm thankful that Amy is letting me stay with her, and that my lawyer is working quickly to protect what's left of my assets. But I'm terrified about what Jane might do next. Sandra says she won't stop until she's either drained us completely dry or been forced to move on to her next victims. I just can't believe how naive I was about all of this. Update 2. 2 months have passed since my last update, and just when I thought this situation couldn't possibly get any worse, it did. The revelations that have come out during our divorce proceedings have left me completely shocked and questioning everything about the last 4 years of my life. The first bomb dropped when my lawyer called me about some irregularities she had found while going through our financial documents. Apparently, there were 6 credit cards opened in my name that I knew nothing about. At first, I thought there must be some mistake. I only had 2 credit cards. But when we dug deeper, we discovered that Jane had stolen some of my mail and personal documents while living with us. She had managed to get copies of my social security card, birth certificate, and even my passport from our home office. The total fraud amount on these cards was over $50,000. The spending pattern was clear, mostly cash advances and online gambling sites. She had even set up the billing addresses to a P.O. box so I wouldn't receive the statements. The only reason this came to light was because my lawyer had requested a complete credit report during the divorce proceedings. I filed a police report immediately. When the police went to question Jane at our house, she was gone. Nathan was there alone, looking like he hadn't slept in days. He told the police that Jane had left 3 days ago, saying she was going to the grocery store. All she left was a note saying she was going to Las Vegas to win back everything she had lost and make things right. That seemed to finally wake Nathan up from his denial. He broke down and showed the police his phone. Jane had been sending him messages asking for more money, promising she had a system that couldn't fail. She had been texting him dozens of times a day, alternating between begging for money and threatening to hurt herself if he didn't help her. The police managed to track her down at the Bellagio Hotel in Las Vegas, where she had been living for the past week. She had maxed out all the fraudulent credit cards and lost everything at the high-stakes poker tables. When they arrested her, she was trying to convince a casino manager to extend her credit line. The police found printouts of my personal information and several other people's documents in her hotel room. During her questioning, it came out that she had done this to 5 other families before us. She would target people she knew, family members, friends, even former colleagues. She would move in with them, gain their trust, and then start stealing their information and money. When one source dried up, she would move on to the next victim. The police estimate she had stolen over $500,000 over the past decade. Nathan came to see me after Jane's arrest. He looked terrible, he had lost weight, hadn't shaved in weeks, and could barely look me in the eye. He broke down completely, apologizing for not believing me and for choosing his mother over our marriage. He admitted that deep down, he had known something was wrong, but he couldn't bear to face the truth about his mother. He told me that after Jane left, he found her journals in the guest room. They were full of detailed plans about how to manipulate people, including him. She had written about how easy it was to control Nathan because of his guilt over abandoning her after his father died. She had intentionally played on his emotions, making him feel responsible for her happiness. Nathan said he was ready to cut all ties with Jane and wanted to work things out with me. He promised to go to therapy, to make amends, to spend the rest of his life making it up to me. He even offered to sell his car and empty his 401k to pay back the money she had stolen. But it was too late. The trust was completely broken. How could I ever feel safe with someone who had watched his mother destroy our lives and had actively helped her do it? The final straw was finding out that Jane had also been stealing from my personal accounts. She had somehow gotten access to my laptop while living with us and had found my saved passwords. She had been making small transfers from my personal savings account to various gambling sites, small enough that I hadn't noticed them individually, but they added up to over $15,000. The district attorney is charging her with multiple counts of identity theft, credit card fraud, and grand larceny. They've offered her a plea deal, but she's still insisting that she's the victim in all this. She told the police that I had given her permission to use my information and that this was all a misunderstanding. Even facing serious prison time, she can't stop lying. Update 3. It's been 6 months since everything fell apart, and I feel like I'm finally starting to piece my life back together. The divorce is complete, and I've learned more than I ever wanted to know about how quickly someone's life can unravel. Jane pleaded guilty to avoid a longer sentence and is now serving 3 years in prison. The prosecutor wanted a longer sentence given her history of fraud, but her attorney played up her gambling addiction and age, arguing for leniency. She's also been ordered to pay restitution to all her victims, though nobody really expects to see that money. Nathan still tries to contact me at least once a month. He sends long emails about how he's changed, how he's in therapy now, and how he finally understands the damage he caused. Last week, he sent me a letter saying he had joined a support group for families of gambling addicts and that he now sees how he enabled his mother's addiction. He even enclosed a cashier's check for $5,000 as the first installment of paying me back. I returned it unopened. Some mutual friends think I'm being too harsh. They say Nathan is really trying to make amends and that people deserve second chances. What they don't understand is that this isn't about the money. It's about trust. Nathan watched his mother steal my identity, drain our savings, and destroy our future. He didn't just allow it, he actively helped her do it. How do you come back from that kind of betrayal? I moved to a different city for a fresh start. Found a new job at a marketing firm that pays better than my old one. The credit card companies eventually cleared the fraudulent charges after a lengthy investigation, but my credit score took a massive hit. I'm living in a small apartment and working extra hours doing freelance work to rebuild my savings. It's not ideal, but it's mine, and nobody can take it away from me. Sandra keeps in touch and has become something of a mentor. She's been through this with Jane before and understands what I'm going through. She told me that Jane has been writing letters to family members from prison, still insisting she's the victim and that she only needed a little more time to win everything back. Some people are actually still sending her money for her commissary account. It's mind-boggling how she can manipulate people even from behind bars. The hardest part has been dealing with Nathan's continued attempts to reconcile. Last month, he showed up at my new office with flowers. I had to have security escort him out. He had gotten my work address from a mutual friend who thought she was helping. I've had to cut contact with several friends who keep trying to play peacemaker. They say things like, but he's your husband and marriage is about forgiveness. Ex-husband. And some things can't be forgiven. My lawyer helped me get a restraining order after the office incident. It feels extreme, but I need to make it clear that there's no chance of reconciliation. I've gone completely no contact with Nathan and his entire family. I blocked them on all social media and changed my phone number. Some days are harder than others, but I know I made the right choice. Sometimes I look back at old photos from when we first met, trying to see if there were signs I missed. But the truth is, you never really know someone until you see how they react in a crisis. Nathan showed me who he really was, someone who would sacrifice his marriage, his integrity, and his future to enable his mother's addiction. I'm just grateful I found out before we had children or bought that house. I'm not dating yet and honestly don't know when I'll be ready. For now, I'm focusing on rebuilding my savings and my life. Some people tell me I'll find someone better, but that's not what this is about. This experience has taught me that it's better to be alone than to be with someone you can't trust. And that's a lesson worth all the pain it cost to learn it.